in the tumultuous maelstrom of Britannic political warfare, where ideological titans clash with the ferocity of gladiators in the Colosseum of yore, Hasanabi ascends as the caustic Cato of our digital epoch, wielding his rhetorical falchion with the precision of a Praetorian guard slicing through the obfuscations and dithering of the leftist camp.
Listen, Owen Jones is fine. And especially his latest stuff on Israel Palestine is pretty good. And Corbyn bent over backwards trying to investigate it, and it turned out it was just an Israeli intelligence op to discredit him. No leftist politician learned that lesson, that centrist Labour Party leaders are the exact same as conservative Dems. They would sabotage the party if a progressive ever took the lead. Yeah. Straight up. Anyway, do you see Sunak try to attack David Tennant for telling a transphobe to shut the fuck up because said transphobe is a woman? What? Anyway, yeah, Corbyn should have actually done a Stalinist purge. It would have been absolutely valid for him to do so, and I wish he had. And he was too soft, man. He really was. And so is Bernie. I love him. I love him, especially Corbyn. You will never make me hate you. Okay, Jezza, you are my goat forever. I love you. You are the king. England could have had something so beautiful, so great. But having said that, he was absolutely, utterly too soft. He was too soft on Brexit, which was already a really shitty situation for him because you had leftist Brexiteers in the ranks. And beyond that, the party had been beefed up by the classic labor / leftist / socialist / communist party. Always has the same issue. You have the students and the London, the educated London class of student voters, and then you have the long-term hardliners, long-term hardline labor voters, and some of the long-term hardline labor voters were very much pro-Brexit, and a lot of the students were obviously anti-Brexit, and I myself have said this before. I was anti-Brexit, and I think that it was not the smart thing to do for England. And I get it. I understand that the European Union is a neoliberal institution, but ultimately, England was not being harmed by this European neoliberalism. They were doing it to themselves anyway. But anyway, ultimately, what ended up happening was that he was ousted with a basic coup internally, and he had a soft position on Brexit. He was wishy-washy on it at a time when people wanted answers, and he flubbed it a little bit. Double down news banger. Okay, the shit that went on in British Labour.
His gaze is affixed with laser-like focus upon the spectral apparitions of Jeremy Corbyn and Owen Jones, figures who, in his estimation, have failed not merely themselves but the very essence of the progressive cause, marooning it upon the treacherous shoals of indecision and political naivete. To Hassan, Jeremy Corbyn is the quintessential tragic hero, a would-be Spartacus of the Labour Party, who, when the moment demanded the mettle of a Caesar, instead offered the meekness of a mousy academic. Corbyn, that putative colossus of British politics, is castigated by Hassan for his egregious failure to enact a *purge de-Stalin*, a cleansing of the Labour Party's origin stables, to rid it of the quisling centrists and treacherous Blairites who undermined his every step. These centrist interlopers, more akin to the perfidious conservative Democrats across the Atlantic, conspired to thwart Corbyn's progressive ambitions, acting as fifth columns within his own ranks, and leaving Hassan seething with frustration at what could have been a veritable revolution stifled in its cradle. Brexit, That Gordian knot of geopolitics and national identity is the nadir of Corbyn's missteps, a debacle of epic proportions in Hassan's view. As the Britannic ship of state careened towards the treacherous rocks of isolationism, Corbyn, the would-be Odysseus, was paralyzed by a paralysis of analysis, vacillating and equivocating at the very moment when the nation cried out for decisive leadership. Hassan decries Corbyn's dithering on Brexit as an unforgivable sin, a dereliction of duty that alienated the proletarian Brexiteers and the academic Remainers alike, leaving his party fractured and his leadership fatally compromised. Hassan's ire, however, is not solely reserved for Corbyn. Owen Jones, that putative tribune of the people, is lambasted with equal fervor for his role in this tragic farce. Jones, who presents himself as the intellectual torchbearer of the left, is, in Hassan's view, nothing more than an effete sophist, a wordsmith lost in the labyrinth of his own ideological purity, disconnected from the brutal realpolitik that guns the corridors of power. To Hassan, Jones is emblematic of a leftist intelligentsia that prefers the sterile confines of theoretical debate to the messy, blood-stained arena of political struggle, a tragic flaw that has rendered the movement impotent and ineffectual. The Labour Party under Corbyn, Hassan thunders, was on the precipice of transforming the sceptred isle, of turning back the tides of neoliberalism and reclaiming the mantle of the people's champion. Yet, this potential was frittered away by Corbyn's failure to exercise the ruthless Machiavellianism required to tame the serpents within his own party. In Hassan's view, Corbyn's inability to wield the political scythe with the necessary force left him vulnerable to the very vultures that eventually tore him asunder, relegating his noble vision to the annals of what might have been. Hassan's critique of Corbyn is not born of mere vitriol but is steeped in the bitter wisdom of a political realist. He recognizes that the cutthroat arena of politics demands more than noble intentions. It demands the iron will to crush one's enemies, to purge the ranks of dissenters, and to project a unified front against the reactionary forces that seek to maintain the status quo. Corbyn's failure, in Hassan's eyes, was not in his ideals but in his execution, in his refusal to don the mantle of the political autocrat when the situation demanded it. The Brexit catastrophe, that Sisyphean burden which crushed Corbyn's leadership, is dissected by Hassan with surgical precision. Corbyn's reluctance to commit to a clear stance on Brexit is seen as a catastrophic blunder, a failure to navigate the Scylla and Charybdis of public opinion with the boldness required. Hassan condemns this indecision as the poison that fractured the Labour Party from within, splitting its ranks into warring factions and leaving Corbyn's leadership in tatters. Owen Jones, for all his rhetorical flourishes and impassioned editorials, is portrayed by Hassan as a Cassandra-like figure, offering warnings that go unheeded, not because they are prescient, but because they are irrelevant to the exigencies of political power. Jones, like Corbyn, is lambasted for his intellectualism divorced from action, his inability to grasp that in the arena of politics, it is not enough to be right, one must also be victorious. Hassan views Jones as emblematic of a left that is all bark and no bite, a movement that prefers to pontificate in ivory towers rather than seize the reins of power. The Labour Party's internal collapse, Hassan argues, is a case study in the perils of political timidity and the dangers of ideological purity untempered by pragmatism. The internecine warfare that plagued Corbyn's leadership was, in Hassan's view, a direct result of his failure to assert control over the party, to purge it of its reactionary elements, and to present a united front in the face of the conservative onslaught. This failure to lead with a firm hand, to wield power with the ruthlessness that the moment required, is, in Hassan's eyes, the ultimate tragedy of Corbyn's tenure. Yet, despite his excoriating critique, Hassan's love for Corbyn remains undimmed, a testament to the enduring appeal of Corbyn's vision for a better, more just society. Hassan's lament is not for what Corbyn was, but for what he could have been, a colossus of the left who, had he only been more ruthless, could have reshaped the very fabric of British society. But love alone, Hassan warns, is not enough to triumph in the arena of politics. It must be accompanied by the strategic acumen and the will to wield power with an iron fist. Hassan's critique serves as a clarion call to the left, to learn from the failures of Corbyn and Jones, to recognize that in the cutthroat world of politics, victory is not won by ideals alone, but by the ruthless application of power. The left must steel itself for the battles ahead, casting aside the timidity and indecision that have plagued it, and embracing the hard truths of political survival. In the final analysis, Hassan's discourse is not merely a critique but a manifesto, a call to arms for the left to reclaim its place in the halls of power. He demands that the left abandon its infatuation with intellectualism and embrace the brutal realities of political warfare, that it purge its ranks of the weak and the indecisive, and that it march forward with the single-minded determination of a conqueror. Only then, Hassan insists, can the left hope to achieve the revolutionary change that it so desperately seeks.